The rapidly escalating conflict between Iran, Israel, and the United States has entered a critical stage, with both sides intensifying military operations across the Middle East. In recent days, Iran has launched what it describes as the 54th wave of attacks in its ongoing military campaign against Israel and U.S. interests in the region. The attacks reportedly included the deployment of advanced missile systems and new tactics that analysts say could significantly alter the dynamics of the battlefield. The development marks one of the most serious escalations since the war erupted earlier in 2026, when coordinated American and Israeli strikes targeted Iranian military infrastructure. Since then, missile exchanges, drone strikes, and air raids have spread across multiple countries in the region, raising fears that the confrontation could evolve into a broader regional war. Iranian state media reported that the latest phase of the military campaign included the launch of the Sejjil ballistic missile, marking the first time this advanced weapon has been used during the current conflict. The strikes were described by Iranian authorities as part of a coordinated retaliation against Israeli and U.S. attacks on Iranian territory. According to Iranian military statements, the barrage was carried out by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as part of its broader retaliatory campaign. The Irgak said the attacks were part of the first round of retaliation for workers killed at civilian factories in Iran during recent strikes. The group further emphasized that the missile strikes were aimed at punishing those responsible for the attacks on Iranian facilities. The Irgak said the operation was aimed at punishing those responsible for the attacks. Military analysts say the introduction of the Sejjil missile represents a significant escalation in Iran's military posture and signals Tehran's willingness to deploy more advanced capabilities as the conflict intensifies. The Sejjil missile is widely regarded as one of the most advanced ballistic weapons in Iran's arsenal. Unlike older Iranian missiles that rely on liquid fuel, the Sejjil uses solid fuel, allowing it to be launched much more rapidly and with far less preparation time. Solid fuel missile systems are considered particularly dangerous in wartime because they do not require lengthy fueling procedures before launch. This means the missile can be fired within a short period after being moved into position, significantly reducing warning time for the intended target. Experts say the missile can be deployed using mobile launchers, allowing Iranian forces to relocate the systems frequently and making them harder to detect and destroy before launch. The Sejjil is believed to be a two-stage medium-range ballistic missile with a range of roughly 2,000 to 2,500 kilometers. This range places numerous strategic locations within reach, including Israeli cities, U.S. military installations in the Middle East, and critical infrastructure across several neighboring countries. Military experts say the weapon's range and mobility make it one of Iran's most strategically valuable missile systems. The ability to launch quickly and from mobile platforms means the missile can be deployed in surprise strikes that leave little time for air defense systems to react. Another element that has complicated Israel's defense efforts is Iran's reported use of cluster munitions in some of its ballistic missile attacks. Cluster warheads release multiple smaller bomblets as the missile descends toward its target. These bomblets spread across a wide area, creating numerous smaller explosive threats instead of a single warhead. Security analysts say this tactic presents a significant challenge for missile defense systems. Instead of intercepting a single incoming warhead, defensive systems must attempt to neutralize dozens of smaller submunitions falling simultaneously. Experts estimate that many Iranian ballistic missiles carry around 24 bomblets, while certain models can carry as many as 80 depending on their configuration. The use of such weapons dramatically increases the complexity of missile interception and raises the risk of casualties and damage, especially in densely populated urban areas. Israel's defensive shield has long relied on a layered missile defense system designed to intercept threats at various ranges. One of the most widely known components of this network is the Iron Dome system, which is primarily designed to intercept short-range rockets. However, for long-range ballistic missiles such as those launched by Iran, Israel relies on other systems, including Arrow and David's Sling. Recent reports citing U.S. officials indicate that Israel may now be facing a shortage of long-range missile interceptors as the volume of Iranian attacks continues to increase. According to officials familiar with the situation, Israel entered the current conflict already possessing a reduced stockpile of interceptors after previous confrontations. As Iranian missile strikes intensified, the demand for interceptors surged, placing heavy pressure on Israel's defensive resources. A U.S. official acknowledged that the situation had been anticipated for some time. The official said, "It's something we expected and anticipated." The official added that Washington had been aware of Israel's interceptor shortage months before the current escalation. Analysts say the situation has become even more challenging due to the use of cluster warheads. Each missile may require multiple interceptors to neutralize its various submunitions, accelerating the depletion of defensive stockpiles. The conflict has expanded far beyond the borders of Israel and Iran. Missile and drone strikes have targeted U.S. military bases and strategic infrastructure across the Middle East. Iran has launched attacks against regional American bases as part of its retaliation for U.S. and Israeli airstrikes on Iranian territory. At the same time, tensions around the Strait of Hormuz have intensified. The strategic waterway is one of the most important global routes for oil transportation, and any disruption to shipping there has immediate consequences for international energy markets. Reports of attacks and military activity near the strait have already caused significant volatility in oil prices, underscoring the global implications of the conflict. The United States has also increased its direct military involvement in the war. American forces have carried out strikes on Iranian military facilities and strategic infrastructure in response to Iranian missile attacks on U.S. assets in the region. One of the most significant operations involved U.S. airstrikes on Iranian oil infrastructure and military facilities associated with naval and missile operations. American officials described the strikes as part of a broader effort to weaken Iran's ability to conduct missile attacks and threaten shipping routes. Iran has responded by continuing to launch missiles and drones at both Israeli territory and American military installations in the region. The political leadership on both sides has maintained firm positions, signaling that neither country is prepared to back down. The United States is currently led by President Donald Trump, who returned to office in 2025 and has adopted a strong stance against Iran during the conflict. Trump has repeatedly emphasized that American military resources remain sufficient to sustain ongoing operations. President Donald Trump said the United States has a virtually unlimited munitions stockpile. Officials in Washington have also expressed confidence that American forces in the region remain well protected. A senior U.S. official said, "We have all that we need to protect our bases and our personnel in the region and our interests." Israel's leadership has similarly framed the war as a critical moment for the country's security. Israeli officials say the campaign against Iran is necessary to prevent Tehran from strengthening its military capabilities and expanding its regional influence. Israel's defense leadership has described the current moment as a decisive stage in the conflict. The Israeli defense minister said the confrontation with Iran is now entering a decisive stage that will persist for as long as required. Israeli officials have also praised the United States for its recent military actions against Iranian targets. The Israeli defense minister said the U.S. military dealt a severe blow to Iranian oil facilities. At the same time, Israel continues to conduct its own air operations targeting Iranian infrastructure and allied militant groups across the region. Despite Israel's sophisticated defensive infrastructure, civilian casualties have continued to occur during missile attacks. Although Israel maintains extensive early warning systems and widely accessible bomb shelters, some missiles and bomblets have managed to evade interception. In one recent incident near Tel Aviv, a cluster bomblet reportedly killed 2 people and injured several others. Israeli authorities say that roughly half of the ballistic missiles fired during the conflict have carried cluster munitions, presenting a new challenge for the country's air defense systems. While many missiles have been successfully intercepted, the smaller bomblets released by cluster warheads can be far more difficult to stop due to their size and the limited time available for interception. The broader regional and global consequences of the conflict are becoming increasingly apparent. Energy markets have been destabilized by attacks near oil infrastructure and shipping routes in the Persian Gulf. Governments around the world are closely monitoring developments as fears grow that the conflict could spread further. Several countries have called for immediate de-escalation and renewed diplomatic negotiations. However, military operations on all sides continue to intensify. Israeli officials have indicated that the conflict could continue for several more weeks as the country pursues its strategic objectives. Meanwhile, Iranian leaders have vowed to maintain retaliatory strikes against Israeli and U.S. targets for as long as the attacks on Iranian territory continue. With both sides deploying increasingly advanced weapons and expanding military operations, analysts say the war may be entering its most dangerous stage. Iran's use of long-range solid fuel missiles and cluster munitions has introduced new challenges for Israel's defensive systems. At the same time, Israel's reported interceptor shortages could complicate its ability to sustain long-term defensive operations if the current pace of attacks continues. The coming weeks may determine whether the conflict moves toward escalation.